What's going on, guys? Time Brothers back here with you. We are up here today doing a little bit of checking around. It is unseasonably warm for western North Carolina. It is 63 degrees and has been for the last few mornings. But it's that time of year. We got a cool front coming in the next week. Thank you, Lord. He's got a plan. God bless. It's time to go deer hunting, it seems like. But what we want to talk to you today about is something we kind of touched base on that last video in with you. Is doing your homework before you go out on a deer hunt. As you can see, if you haven't yet, go check that video out. Austin kills a great deer. When you go to a new place, it is better to have had all your maps scouted out, all your topo features, you know where it's steep, anywhere you think you know where you want to hunt, any kind of thermal hubs, which is a different topic that we'll touch in a different video. You want to know where all those things are, just because it saves you a ton of time when you get there. You only have an allotted amount of time when you go on a hunting trip, whether it be 2 days, whether it be 7 days. Me personally, I like to save myself as much time and as much feet on the ground action as I can. That there, we had checked out that river bottom. We knew it was going to be a great spot. Sure enough, Austin killed a great deer. We had picked out a thermal hub spot. Sure enough, went right there first thing, scrape on the ground. That being said, our rut here 2 counties over pretty much. To the west, it hits the middle of December rut-wise. That there, I believe they're already close to the pre-rut, which their main rut will probably hit around the 1st of December, which is pretty accurate. It is that time of year to be in the woods, and if you're new to deer hunting, been deer hunting, I hope this video does help you. This is something when we're going somewhere also, first thing we could do is start looking for YouTube videos of somebody that has been in that area or been close to that area in the same piece of public land, same national forest or public forest land. I know we've traveled to Ohio a bunch of times, and YouTube has actually helped us up there a lot just because we got to see the terrain features. We can see what kind of clothes we need to pack, what kind of gear we need to take. And that is a big plus, not having to prepare for that without going in blind. So when you're going to these things, I highly suggest checking that out, looking on YouTube, checking different topics. I mean, I know going through one search engine to another is always a plus, but on YouTube, you can go through and type into that algorithm, and it usually gets you pretty dialed in to being in a pretty close area, if not in the area that you're wanting to be in. So that's something in the next few videos as we travel around, we're always going to do a segment on is kind of what we're looking at hunting, what the terrain is, just to give you guys a plus into if you decide to come hunt one of those areas, what it's like. So getting into it here, what we have here in the western part of North Carolina, which is more mountainous, is when you get down here in these low-lying valleys or low-lying areas, you get into a lot of old wild holly. Or you get into a lot of mountain laurel thickets. Either one, I can highly suggest avoiding as much as you can. I know sometimes you may have to walk through a strip of that old mountain laurel, and I can promise by the time you're done with it, you're going to wish you hadn't. Especially carrying a deer stand or carrying any kind of gear, you're going to cuss the whole way through because it's beating and banging. This old mountain holly, if you have a kid with you or even yourself, you better hope you have long sleeves and long pants on because you're going to get poked to death. It is very sticky. But not only that, the reason we try to avoid being in it as much as possible, especially if the wind is not right, is they both make great bedding for deer and any other kind of wildlife. The deer love to bed in that old mountain laurel just because it hangs so low to the ground. This old mountain holly also, the limbs will hang, I mean, sometimes a foot to 2 foot off the ground, as you can see right there. So, I mean, they can get in there and stay pretty hid. But one big thing about this is playing that wind. You don't want to come around one of these areas unless the wind is really in your favor, because I can about guarantee you if you find an area that is packed full of this stuff, there's deer in it, because that's where they love to bed. Secondly, when you come here to one of these areas, as you can see behind me, this up here is a big old white oak tree. That is what the natural food source for white-tailed deer is in western North Carolina. I think in all of North Carolina, there's around close to 100 species of oak trees. That right there is the one they're looking for. They love white oaks. They will eat them over anything else if they can find them, along with any other kind of wildlife, bears, hogs, anything. That's what they love. That's what they have been bred into, is eating white oaks. So when you're out scouting or looking around on these maps doing your things, you want to find those big flats, especially if you're coming to North Carolina here, that has oak trees on them. That's one of the things I first check out when I go to a place, is any kind of flat. You can guarantee there's probably going to be a big oak. Now, one thing you got to watch out for in that, though, is not all of them drop at the same time. A lot of times here, our red oaks are starting to hit right now. The deer will leave them alone kind of until later in December. Like I said, white oaks is what they're looking for. When you find those white oak trees, one of them may be hitting one day, and one of them may be hitting the next day. So you kind of got to adjust accordingly to which one is dropping the acorns which day. But that's where to be, especially if you can find this transition from thick bedding cover to one of those white oak trees. Get in between that baby, or even right beside that white oak tree, somewhere good cover, good wind. That's your main priority, is playing that wind, especially on public land around here, and you'll get that deer killed. Now, secondly, when we're coming in, and like I said, our rut starts hunting, we start trying to focus it on the rut around Thanksgiving. That's when our pre-rut kind of starts happening usually, or it has been for the last few years. Main rut usually kicks in around the middle of December, it seems like. Any kind of shelving off the top of a ridge, if you don't know what that means when you get a big flat on top of the ridge, that's the top. But then if you get like a flat and then it cups back up, and then another flat, that's a shelf. Usually those shelves, that's where your big bucks are going to stay. If you can find those shelves with those white oak trees on them, especially holding some white oaks around, or holding some acorns around Thanksgiving, that first week of December right in there, that's the recipe for big bucks in North Carolina. But like I said, it just depends on where you're at. We are in the mountains. Where we were at last weekend is kind of the foothills, which is down towards the middle of the state. Whole different ball game. It doesn't have this thick stuff in these low-lying areas like this. You're more of in that back to briars and bramble kind of setting in the low-lying areas. You're not going to be in any kind of mountain laurel or anything like that. So that's something you got to watch out for. But I hope that helps you. Hope you keep on watching with us. Stay with us. I can't wait to get in the woods. Like I said, we got a cold front coming in the next week or so. Hopefully deer movement starts picking up. And this is something we're going to try to keep pushing, is when we go to new places, we're going to be, I know we have a big trip planned to Alabama here the 1st of January. That's our yearly hunting trip with a guide. So that is a big time thing for us. So we're getting ready to go down there. But over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be getting in the woods, getting ready to go for the rut here. We're ready. Stick with us. Keep watching. Like I said, if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button for us. Thank y'all. God bless you. We'll see you on the next one.